Hey, how you doing? I'm Marcus Johnson. I'm an entrepreneur professor. I've been teaching entrepreneurship and business development for a little while. Places like Howard University, I've been on the faculty at Georgetown University. I've given speeches everywhere from Harvard to Cornell, taught at Bowie State. And my claim to fame is I'm a jazz musician who also holds a law degree and an MBA from Georgetown. And I started a wine brand called Flow that is doing really well right now. We're actually relaunching our national brand in January. And I've been working with Munson on the idea that creating our civil justice and our empowerment is through entrepreneurship. So during the RIDE conference, we've been talking about entrepreneurship in sports and marketing. We talked about the idea of the deeper concept that we have, which is dream, engage, environment, plan, execute, reflect. And the CEO of you, the concept of putting those two together. And today, Munson asked me to talk about, and we're going to talk about the idea of creating a brand and leveraging it through the SBA. So I put some notes and I'll look from time to time at my notes. A couple of things for you. Make sure that as you're looking at this, that you have your pen and paper. Even if you have screenshot capabilities, make sure you have that because the slides may go pretty fast. I may have to erase them on this board. I put some other 3M notes up there for you. So number one is the idea of what is a brand, right? And, before you can talk about leveraging the SBA or leveraging something else, everybody really talks about the idea of I have a brand. Well, what is a brand? And people think that, well, I have a brand when I do this, or I have a brand of products that does this. Now, you may have a brand name for your product, but your brand is not developed at that point. And Jim Collins, the writer of the book, Good to Great, had a great quote in it, in that he said that you have four components to a company, and i.e. a brand. Number one is the idea phase of the company. I have an idea. Number two, you have the organizational phase. Then you have the branding phase. And then lastly, you have the movement phase. And so I want to talk about those four components of building a brand and creating a brand first. Because if you don't have a brand, and branding, you can be an influencer, definitely, but there are even key components of being an influencer on social media that you need in order to say that you actually have a brand that you then may be able to leverage with the SBA so that you can continue to grow it. And especially in these crazy times now, there are unique opportunities for small business entrepreneurs and ideas for you where you need to be studying in college so that you can understand these different core concepts. So let's see, when we talk also about a brand, in the idea, it's really something that generally is new or novel, or it is the concept of new or novel, or you have something where you're taking an existing idea and making it better. For instance, I use the idea of the creation of Bluetooth, which was a new technology, versus building a better cable. So Monster Cable, with their gold plating and how they made these really expensive cables through which the Noel Lee, I think is the creator of that, actually made cables that sounded better because it shielded from outside influence and magnetic fields, right? So you had really expensive cables. If you went into Best Buy at a certain point, you had the Magnolia stores, which you had these gold-plated monster RCA cables and as such that would carry your signal. And it actually had a comparable sound to digital. But that is making a better kind of fly trap, right? It's making a better headphone versus the person who came in and created Bluetooth technology. That in and of itself is something new. Both are great ideas. Both allow you to create a brand. Monster created Monster cables, then went on to create the Magnolia stores on a much better headphone experience, a listening experience. Bluetooth has changed the world. And not saying that, you can't change the world with something existing. Let's look at Airbnb. Let's also look at brands such as Uber. Airbnb is the number one hospitality company in the world that doesn't own a hotel. You think about that, right? If you look at Uber is the number one travel, transportation company in the world that doesn't really own its cars. Taking the taxi idea, making it better. Now, after you decide on your idea and that you have something new, you have to decide, how to organize your company. So number one, when you're talking about a brand, you have idea, which is new or an extension. And then you have how you're going to organize it, right? And so when you talk about organizing, you hear people say, like, I have an LLC. What does that mean? Do you know? It's important that you do. Some people will say, well, I have a company, I have a Corp. Some people say, I'm so-and-so Inc. Well, are you incorporated as a C corporation or are you incorporated as a subchapter S corporation? Different benefits to each, but we can talk about them real quickly in here. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but these are things that you can learn in classes that you can take, like organizational structure, a class on different organizational forms and how to save money, save taxes, organize big or small, but that fits you. And then lastly, these LLCs or LLPs, they're limited liability. So when you're looking at organizational form of your company, you want something that fits the amount of people you're going to have working for you, the amount of shareholders that you may need to raise money in order to, fund your operations, and the fact that you can, save on taxes as well as make sure that you limit liability. Now, some of these are sole proprietorship. In a sole proprietorship, you have, we're going to call it a sole P, right? SOLP. You have no limited liability. And LL means limited liability. What does that mean? That means Marcus Johnson can start a company and go out and make money with it today. Marcus Johnson doing business as Marcus Johnson. So let's say I go out there and unfortunately my services as a musician or as a winemaker, causes someone harm. Then people can sue me. But when they're suing me for my house. They're suing me for, if they win, they get, can sell my car, any personal assets that I have. So a lot of people go out and they do business and they file taxes on their Schedule C. Thus, you need to take taxes, right? An accounting class, so you know how to kind of make sure you can maneuver this. But you fill this out on a subchapter, on a Schedule C on your regular 1040 on your taxes. But you have no protection, no limited liability. So the next form would be things like partnerships, now partnerships by themselves, if you have 3 people here, 2, 3, and you pull your money together to have this organization, you still don't have liability protection. Now you may pull your money together, and then when revenues come in, they're split whatever way you decide. But at the end of the day, what ends up happening is that you end up still being liable at the level of your house, at the level of your car. If you have a fund for your daughter or son to go to school, that in and of itself may be open for someone to satisfy a debt if they take you to court and win and you're found liable. Now, then you have these things called limited partnerships. Limited partnerships. And with a limited partnership, the unique opportunity that you have with it is that you have, let's say, a general partner here and 2 limited partners. That means that the general partner is saying, I'm going to be the main person involved in the day-to-day operations here. And I'm going to limit the liability of the other 2 because they're maybe just giving money. And it may be your mom and dad, it may be cousins, it may be friends, it may be other business people, but you provide them a level of indemnification. And so it's the next step down, which leads to these other things that I'm sure you hear about in the news: LLCs, LLPs. And these are limited liability partnerships, LLP and LLC. Once again, they give you limited liability. Okay, Marcus, explain it. Limited liability. What is that? That means so long as you do a specific amount of things, like, it's really easy, like you don't commingle your personal and business funds. And you know, where you make a clear delineation of that. The other thing is where, you know, you basically act as a separate entity. Hey, look, I'm putting my business, my time stuff here, my personal stuff here, and you fill out the paperwork for a limited liability company or a limited liability partnership. What is, you know, so that you can protect yourself. Marcus, can I do this just for limited liability? The answer to that question is yes. We used to sit in law school all the time, and the professor would ask, well, can you do this just for limited liability? And we'd look around at each other. And he's like, come on, you all. Absolutely. The difference between this person, sole P, who does something and is sued, loses everything, and this person who is a single partner limited liability company, right? The only difference between these two is the paperwork that they filled out. One didn't and one did. And actually, filling your stuff out on your Schedule C might even be more difficult than the 1120 that you're going to need, or 1120S that you're going to need for these other types of pass-through organizations. Okay, so what kind of classes are relevant here? I'm going deep into organizational structure. Accounting, very important for you right here to understand this. If you can find a class on taxation and business management, even in entrepreneurship, that goes through and you ask your teacher and or your professors about organizational structure. So you have your idea, your organization. I'm going to go through a couple more. The next one is the C Corp, right? And an S Corp. Now these two are, Corp. These two are different in that this one's taxed at the business level and at the personal level. And these two are called pass-through. And that means that the tax, you're taxed on the income line of your profit and loss statement here on your company. And then the money that goes through when you get a dividend, because if you own part of a company, after you're taxed at the business level, then you get a dividend from your company. And then guess what happens? They tax it again at a C Corp. At your S Corp, if you elect within the first, I think, 2 years of your company, well, actually, I think it's in the first couple of months, but you have up to 2 years to kind of retroactively go back. Your S Corp is a pass-through where you're not taxed at the business level. Your income at loss goes straight to your personal tax line. However, you get limited liability. So you have the sole P kind of moving on my own. S Corps have up to 100 shareholders, not a big company. They kind of function in many ways sometimes like trusts. Don't want to get too much into that. You can do that in a class on trust. But I've chosen in many times to either be LLCs or S Corps because of the pass-through opportunity. And because the pass-through opportunity limits me to one tax, although there are other little things, they may do a self-employment tax, etc., etc. Get a good accountant, they can help you with that. But you avoid limited liability. Something goes wrong. You have your insurance, you have limited liability, you may pay at the business level, but they can't come after your home, they can't come after your kids' fund, they can't come after if you're getting ready to buy a house with your significant other, your wife, etc., husband, then they can't get that. That helps you sleep at night a lot, trust me on that. So now we have our idea, we've organized it. Now, you know, this is where we get into kind of what people call branding. And I know most of you all don't think of it this way. You have an idea, I'm just going to do it, I have a phone, I can get on, I can get deals, I can get everything else. trust me, you're not going to get a big deal without going to an attorney and having it set up properly, where your attorney is going to sit you down, or business manager who is a real business manager is going to sit you down and say, we're not going to get you the money at this level. We're going to create a company that will allow you to put the money here. You can do other things, et cetera, et cetera. I know it can be confusing. But then when you're outside of that, like, well, how do you get to people? You've organized your company. You're thinking about the organization, but you want to continue to grow it. So what is that process called? Is it called branding, or is it called like marketing? I'm going to take a step back, and I want you to know that, like, when I look at things, there are like 3 levels to a company. You are 3 divisions of a company. Right here, and these overlap, right? You have marketing and sales, you have operations, and you have management. Now, these may overlap, but this is where you get into the nitty-gritty of thinking in an organized fashion about your branding. It becomes marketing. So I like to equate the branding part really kind of here. What is here and here too? We'll get into that in a second. But the big part is here in conventional, traditional terms, marketing and sales. You hear people talk about you have to market your company. Well, what does that really mean? Because my definition is a little bit different than most, okay? I hope you have this stuff here. If not, rewind and you get it. So for me, I'm going to abbreviate. Marketing is the science of finding your target market. Sales is converting potential customers into real customers. These are 2 different things, you all. And what most of you all do is, I'm not saying most of you all, what I hear out here in commonplace, people talk about marketing your company, and they're really talking about promoting it. Well, you have to promote it. You have to go out and sell it. Wait a minute though. Isn't this big? The science of finding your target market. What am I saying? Who is your potential customer? What need are you filling? It's the who, what, where, when, and why of these people that may become this. Most people go out and run, hey, I'm going to do this podcast on this. Is this something that people want to hear about? Hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to create this. Is this something that fixes somebody's needs? I mean, when you think about Lyft, even in the name Lyft, where did it come from? Students from Cornell University got stuck at the bottom of a hill and then created it because none of the taxi cabs would take them up the hill. So they created an app that would allow you to find people who would help you go up the hill, because Cornell is in Ithaca on the top of a hill that overlooks one of the Finger Lakes. It's a hard hill to go up. You don't want to walk it. Beautiful campus, but that's how they created it. There was a need. Then they went and did the research to try to figure out whether that need was, was it something that was like solving someone's pain point? And pain points are important here to be able to then know this. So then when you're marketing in the science, a lot of time they call it demographics. I call it demographics and psychographics. It's the who, what, where, when, and why, and how of your potential clients, right? And so there's a concept out called the 4 P's. It's product, promotion, pricing, and placement. Now this is core theory of marketing. This is what I learned years ago in a marketing class. What product are you selling? Operations. Promotion, how you getting the name, or how you pricing it. In between marketing and sales, how are you going to promote it? Marketing and sales. And the placement, meaning where are you going to put it? Are you going to put it online? Are you going to do a hybrid strategy that's online and online and brick and mortar? Are you going to get a kiosk? Are you going to do a food truck? Are you going to do something that's mobile? Are you going to do face-to-face, et cetera, consulting? Is it a service? Is it a product? That kind of thing. And then how you get it to the people. But the one thing for me that has to be answered before you even get here to these four, I believe that there is a fifth P in people. And this is where you really begin to start understanding what a brand is. A brand is you doing all of this, finding the people, finding the need, answering the need, coming up with something you feel is innovative that solves a pain point, that solves a need, and then creating that product based on the people, figuring out how to promote it, because you need to know where they are online. And this is where analytics becomes very important. I'm going to talk about that in a whole nother video after this, but like your research, this is key. You need a marketing class. You might even want to take a sociology and a psychology class, because if this doesn't sound like the science of the psychology of finding your target market, I don't know what is. And this is the branding component of things that makes everything work. And once you have this, then in your operation side of things, you have to make sure that you consistently give a superior product and service, one that people can depend on. You know, I like, there's a restaurant in this area called Houston's, and they have them all over the country. And the reason I like Houston's is because they're always serving the same stuff. They're dependable. You can go and take high-end clients there. You can take your significant other there. You can go hang out there with your friends. The margaritas are going to taste a certain way. The people are going to act a certain way. The food is going to act a certain way. That's operational along with this. I like good food when I go to different places, and I want to know that I don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to be good or not. So I can concentrate on business meetings or having a conversation, etc. That is a brand. Houston's is known for consistent food service and a superior experience when you go into it, right? Disney, same thing. Mac, same thing. So when we look at the idea of, or the concept of idea to organization to brand, and then movement that we talked about earlier, here, this is where you build trust. You know, I mean, I trust you and I like what you're giving. You know, I particularly like Southwest Airlines. I know what I'm getting every time I get on a Southwest airline. I know what they're giving me. I know what it costs. I know I get my 2 bags for free. Let's say, what else? I love Cole Haan shoes. My feet don't hurt when I perform. I'm a Yamaha piano player. I endorse Yamaha pianos. Why? Because I love the way they sound. Love the way they sound. So I can then say, somebody had an idea about a company called Yamaha. They put it together in an organization. This is the organization with management, operations, and marketing and sales. And then they started building their product. And Yamaha does everything, right? But we're just talking about Yamaha music. And they make great pianos that feel a certain way. When I go and play on a Yamaha, it doesn't matter where I go. It sounds the same. It feels the same. I know what I'm getting at the end of the day. Same thing with my Yamaha keyboards. I love the feel of it. So I trust in the fact that they have all this together. So when I look at a Yamaha and I see the yellow, the red, and the inside with the little felt, everything else like that, the Yamaha logo with the tuning forks on it, I'm good, man. That, you all, is how you build a brand. And once you build that trust and like and consistency, things work. Now, here's something that's interesting for you. For those of you all who are going to go beyond branding and, let's say beyond yourself and build products, you have to get the buy-in of the brand inside of your organization as well. Even if you have a manager and a publicist, even if that's all you have, they have to be down with the fact that you are creating this. Your team has to be on board with you all the way too. I think, again, if you look at brands like even Nike or Apple or Marriott, the people that are inside of these organizations are brand loyal. When you have a brand where the internal components aren't working and the people who are the actual employees or the people who touch the consumers and they don't believe in the product, you can feel it. Ever been to a restaurant and somebody's like, you're asking about something and they're like, exactly, that's what we're talking about. So your job isn't only for the science of finding your target market outside of your company. It's also making sure that you have the proper market going on in these same functions within your company. And you see it now with sites like LinkedIn and I think it's Zoom Recruiter and other places like that, where you have headhunters and HR professionals that are really looking for the right fit within your corporate culture. It's absolutely important to do that because you don't want the wrong people coming in. Have you ever seen a baseball team like our Washington Nationals, where at a point had one of the most talented players ever to play baseball on our team? It was the year after they traded him away that they won the World Series. Why is that? It's proper fit. And it's making sure that what you're selling, even inside your company, is what the people who are working with you are buying. That, you all, is super important to remember too. So as we're looking at it within the context of college, what kind of courses are you looking at? I mean, you're looking at general management courses. Again, I go back to the idea that you're looking at psychology courses, sociology courses, people, things on, go to seminars based on avoiding self-sabotage. Many employers will do that. Many entrepreneurs get to a point and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's not all about me and it's bigger than me and I don't know what to do. It's when you hire other people, man, to make sure that you can continue to achieve your goal. And that's how you continue to give the same level of consistent service, superior service, and superior products that allow people to believe in your brand. And finally, it's like, the movement component. Again, we have idea, organize, brand, and movement. I'm sorry if you can't see that stuff, but you understand that from Jim Collins. We've gotten to the brand part. You're creating a consistent product, a consistent service, and your team is on fire, right? What's gonna happen? When you build relationships with people, man, when you build relationships with your customers through consistent service and products, you don't have to brand. The brand happens on its own. When you build relationships and trust and like within your brand, where your consumers feel that, they're gonna tell people about you. Man, Marcus Johnson's piano playing is amazing. Hey, Tony's, graphic design, incredible. They're quick, on time, and they understand marketing. You have companies now like 99 Designs where you can go in and find out, if you're a graphic artist or you're looking for graphic arts, you can post a contest to get graphic design ideas. One, it helps the graphic artist create more portfolios and it lets you get different ideas of how you might want to brand your stuff, But again, when I'm talking about that, like 99 Designs, I found out about that through somebody else because they're not just a brand anymore. That becomes a movement. And what did I do? I had a great experience. I've told 10 people in the last year, 10 people and my clients about 99 Designs. Check it out. That's what you want. That's how you get to movement and people start really knocking the stuff out the box. So we have a brand now. We have a brand that is on its way to movement. We had an idea. We organized it as one of the companies that we said organizational form, subchapter S, LLC, C Corp, limited partnership. We built a brand through putting the product together, coming up with a great operational plan management. We understood our people. We understood the product, promotion, pricing, placement. We then figured out ways to go out and sell it and do it again and again and again and again in a cycle. Now, my cycle not only applies to business, but to people, and I talk about it. It's called Deeper. Dream, engage, environment, plan, execute, reflect. That's all this is. I have a dream, right? I engaged in the organization of it. I found the good, right people in my company environment. I put it in a written plan. This is all written. Then you went out and did it. Then you reflect on it. And in my next piece, I'm going to talk about the whole concept of research and analytics and why it's important. But that's going deeper. You can do the same thing in your life. Dream, engage, environment, plan, execute, reflect. Talk about it on my podcast. But that's what you're doing. That's what good businesses do. And when you do that and you have that, you see me vibing here. When you have that vibe, you can't help but have a brand that your consumers go and turn it into a movement. So, Marcus, how does all this relate to the SBA? The SBA has people to help you do all of this. You pay taxes, your parents pay taxes depending upon how old you are. As a citizen of the United States, the government and commerce created an agency called the Small Business Administration, under which they have the small business development centers around the country. They administer everything from the EIDL loans, the emergency injury, or they administer the economic injury disaster loans, the EIDL money. They administer PPP. They're making sure that you have support through SCORE, SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, where you can get a former executive who volunteers their time to help you with financial planning. Because a lot of us, man, we're so into, I just want to build a product. I want to build a product. Well, what are your profit and loss? Pro formas. You don't know what a pro forma is? You need to take a marketing class. You need to take a finance class and an accounting class, right? And an entrepreneurship class. Or you can take an entrepreneurship class and it'll cover some of this, but you need to understand financial statement analysis and how it goes. Not to do all the work, but so that you understand when you go to the SBA and ask for a SCORE volunteer, or go to the SBDC and ask to be a client of theirs, where you have someone who is actually mentoring you through the financial process, or they hook you up with a firm that is volunteering time with you. You know what they're talking about. The reason you want to know your organizational structure is because at the SBDC, you can ask them to help you find a lawyer who may provide some pro bono work. Guess what? If you know that you want to be a subchapter S, they can help you with your articles of incorporation and help you through the IRS process of getting your EIN and filling out your application for subchapter S. That's where our government helps, man. And these are the things that I don't understand, some of these people and the things that they're talking about. We don't need government. You're talking about some other part of government, because this, it works. It helps us. I'm on the board of advisors, I have to say, for the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center at Howard University. Man, we helped hundreds of people during COVID and quarantine. We kept it going. Our numbers were through the roof. The problem we had was we didn't have enough people who applied for money. We still have lots of money that we can help connect small business entrepreneurs with. But you have to come with an idea that's organized and some type of plan. You have to be deeper with it. And I think I've given you everything that you really, really need as relates to, you need a marketing class. You need a business management class. You need to make sure that you understand, business finance, but business sciences, how to make the proper decisions, how to figure out the science of, based on, the size of a particular market or the people who fit this particular profile, this is how much money we stand to make if we get 1% of the market. Then you can let that fuel your market analysis. And when you come to an investor with that, they're going to do everything they can to help you, and the SBA can help you find groups of investors. People who are willing to invest in your product. They have the connects. They have the people that can put it all together for you. Am I guaranteeing that you're going to get money? I absolutely am not. Am I guaranteeing that you're going to get funding for your company? I'm not. Am I guaranteeing that you're going to have, they're going to answer all your questions and do the work for you? I absolutely am not going to say that, because they're not going to do the work. They are the person that's going to say, yo, go over that way. You go that way, I'm going to throw you the pass. But you have to catch the ball and you have to get it into the end zone. If you don't know about football, and I'm sorry for the sports analogy, it's basically like, I'm not going to do the work for you. I'm going to give you everything you need and point you in the right direction so that you can end up at your end goal, which is your brand. They have people that will help with intellectual property. That's a whole nother topic that we need to discuss. But when you have your name, are you trademarking it? No, you don't know what a trademark is. Guess where you can go? The SBA. This is your resource. You need a business plan. I talked about business planning. Guess where you're going to go? SBA.gov. And you're going to put in business plan. And they have business plan templates for you. But you have to have everything else. I know it seems like I went way out of the way in order to get you to just say, SBA can do this for you, or with you, or guide you so that you can do it further. Trying to see if I missed anything else, man. Yeah, my last, they do industry research. They can help you through all that kind of stuff so that, again, you can find the science of your people. But look, there are things that you pay taxes for and that you're going to pay taxes for. Don't complain because you didn't know about them. You know about them now. You don't have anybody to blame at all. Use these as a resource, the resource to take your idea, to organize it, to get it in a brand so that your consumers can then take it to movement status. And that's how you get your flow on. That's how you go deeper. That's how I do what I do every single day. You notice I'm doing this, I have my notes, but I'm doing this from here because I'm doing it from here. I want you to know all of this. Take the classes, invest in yourself. But as you get out and you live in this great country, take advantage of these opportunities with the SBA, SBA.gov, SBDC, the same thing. I think it's America's SBDC. And you can get resources to help you find this out. Should you have any questions, you can always reach me at marcusjohnson360.com. I'm on social media, open for a DM at marcusjohnson360. And thanks to Rolling Out Magazine, Munson, Steve, Melinda, for making this happen here at Ride. I hope you now know that you have to have a brand. But once you have a brand, you can leverage the SBA like that. You'll have everything you'll need and you'll know exactly what to ask for. You all take care. I love you. I love you. I love you. And always do your flow.